I will tell you, like, we were growing up with at that time, in our opinion, the most incredible cars you can own. Like, our dad in that time was the car dealer as well as we are. And I would say when I was growing up, I was born in 1995. He was born in 1990. We had about in our garage, like the EB110, XJ220, some kind of Diablos, SE30, and some normal Diablos. For us, it was quite normal to have those cars there. Every time we went to the garage, at that time, it wasn't allowed for us to go there with our dad because we were too young.
Wasn't the age of 5, 7, 8, 10 like this?
Exactly. I would say I was about 3, 4, 5 and he was about 7 or 8. And our dad, all the time, we ask, can we go to the garage? Can we see the car? And our dad, he worked outside. So he had his showroom like 20 minutes from our home. Our mom told us all the time, you have to wait for your dad. And when he's there, he will go there with you. For sure, some of the time it was a lie because she knew he will come back in the evening when we are sleeping.
Most of the time in the night.
Yeah, exactly. But I think at that time, because he's the older guy, he can tell you more about that.
The oldest pictures I remember from my childhood was me sitting in a racing suit, in a red racing suit, in a first series Diablo, being a year and a half probably old, like that, sitting in the car with that kind of, it wasn't a maxi cozy, it was that kind of like child seat in a Diablo, looking properly like a computer to test the car. But this is what I remember back in the day. Yeah. That was even before he was born.
Exactly.
Like years before he was born. We grew up with, like, our dad was a Lamborghini fan. He was a driver, owner, enthusiast, passionate about it. He, at some point, just to show what kind of character he is, there are pictures in the 80s of him, like, wearing a mustache, of course, golden watch, golden chain.
Don't forget the leather jackets.
Yeah, the leather jackets, open leather jackets, like, slipped up and driving around in a white Countach. This is kind of what he is, doing a little bit of bodybuilding. So I guess that he watched Miami Vice every week.
Yeah,
once it
maybe
was on
a little
TV.
bit too much.
Yeah, probably.
Too many times.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And
he was the
nothing
stereotype of an 80s
Exactly.
and 90s supercar driver, like this stereotype.
And I think until today, nothing changed.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
really...
No, yeah, that's a character.
Exactly, that's a character. That's him. I will tell you, he was a kind of a dad, like, he was a very hard guy. So we had some rules, and the rules were very important. For example, it wasn't allowed in the past to eat in his car. It wasn't allowed. He had a new S-Class at that time, and if you ask him to eat inside his car...
Even a bottle of water.
I don't want to have that discussion again today. So even a bottle of water, my mom had give us that bottle of water, and she had to take care that everything goes the right way. Even after that time, I would say, like, after he started to trust us, when we became in the age,
which was a mistake.
Like,
yeah.
Like, you went, I would say, like,
Every
10,
day.
12, I was about 7, 8. So I was old enough to follow him, as all the time I followed him. Older brother, it was like, what he's doing is right. I want to do that
exactly.
as well.
I was a small leader.
Exactly. And it started that we were allowed to go to the garage without our dad. So he didn't lock it. So that was a fault, I would say.
Yeah, that was another mistake.
Because all the friends, they came to our house. We showed them the cars. Hey, sit in. We were like that, very small. It was very hard to open the Diablo doors at that time.
Don't want to interrupt you, but that was also the time when another great passionate was born, like Leo, our friend from...
Exactly.
This is the time in which his passion was born, like when the small light grew up, which is a proper fire nowadays. Yeah.
This is quite nice because we have some friends, not that many. They build up the same passion as we have, and it started at that time as well. We were friends at that time, and I remember some days when, for example, Leo, his friend, came over and they watched the cars, they sit in and for hours. And later on, I was allowed to sit next to them while they were playing Need for Speed. That was so funny, man. That was the Saturdays I loved as a child, sitting next to the older brother. And my dad was outside in the office. And when he came back sometimes, and it was a nice summer day, we were allowed to sit, all of us, 3 small child, next to him on the seat, and we had one round in the Diablo Yota.
Yeah, but not like around the block, just slow. No, like proper driving,
really,
with 3 kids next to him. But that happened in the 90s, like when there was like sky was the limit, like the peak for automobiles, when cars had the power what they had 10 years later, but they had the suspension of 10 years earlier and brakes from the 70s in Diablo Iota. Like, Iota has 610 horses, and you have the brake of probably a BMW from 1980. I can remember we were not only like walking into the garage and playing, like once we found out that they trust us and we thought, hey, that was a big mistake and we just can do whatever we want.
I think you have to tell also, not to the yes people, but compared to the German people, our dad owned a big garage. It was about 20 meters to 10 meters, 200 square meters. So it's a kind of tall for German people.
Some would call it a warehouse.
Yeah.
But,
in the US, it's a double garage, but
yeah, exactly.
But it was quite big, and so we had the opportunity to walk around every car. And what was the fault? To drive around every car with a bicycle.
BMX bikes were pretty much in
Exactly.
trend back then. So we started to play around with remote control cars in the garage, driving around a little bit. Nothing brake at all. And, we were still taking care of when we took out our bicycle from the garage. It very fast went over to that we every day were in that small warehouse when our dad was away. And like these cars were standing there for a while because he had... Basically, you wouldn't imagine, but in the 90s, when you had an EB110, you bought it with a discount, or actually 220. I think he bought an actually 220 new with a discount of 50%, like 50%. Yeah, SE30, 30% discount. The cars he couldn't sell at the moment because the showroom was blocked with other bullshit from the 90s you couldn't sell at the moment, like other Diablos, Testarossas, whatever. 512Ms, the hot shit for today, you couldn't sell them because they were considered as ugly. Yeah. But all these icons, you couldn't sell them, and they were parked there. And there was this small kit car looking thing called F40.
Yeah.
As well.
Exactly.
Like, which, I don't have a big love for the F40, except one of a thousand people. I guess it's a great, but it's not a Lamborghini. That is probably the problem. But anyway, so we started with remote control cars, went over to, having a ball with us, playing around a little bit with friends, went over to BMX contests in the garage.
Exactly.
Contests, like proper racing with BMXs in that garage.
I would say after a while, eventually it wasn't a novelty because we have done it for a while. And so we had the very good idea, spray some water on the ground. And let's try it again.
I forgot that completely,
Yeah, really.
But yeah, we did that as well.
So you have to imagine the track for the BMX started in the front yard of our parents' house, and then we had a bridge in front of the house. So it started on the bridge, and
which was the grid, and the infield was the garage.
Exactly.
This is where you could make the time or even not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I really don't know what our mom was thinking about that.
Yeah, but she
because
was working. Probably she wasn't aware of.
They started on the bridge, and then they were away, and they came back. She didn't see that we passed the garage.
And our intention was, this is the tunnel of Monaco. Of course.
Yeah,
exactly. This is the tunnel. So, of course, we were wearing helmets, like glasses, and looking like proper racing drivers on BMXs. I cannot remember that there was a big accident with one of the bikes in the garage.
I can.
Okay.
I can, for sure. Because I can tell you that it was like, how can I explain? Went into the garage, it was like a 90-degree corner. And after the idea to spray some water on the ground, we had a nice stone ground, but very slightly with the water. I turned in. I was behind him for sure. I was all the time slower because he was...
But he was a brave driver. He was the Max Verstappen on BMXs.
Yeah. Like losing
was no
an
option.
And if I lost, I tried to push him for that, for sure. But after I turned that corner, and it was very slightly, I fall down, and the BMX crashed into one of the front of it. I think it was a Diablo. I don't know. It wasn't a big damage, but the packs scratched the front bumper. Yeah, man. So this was something I had to tell my mom.
Yeah, but that was not the biggest
After
issue.
some month. We didn't,
of course, hiding
we didn't
first.
speak about it. So I think our dad knew about it, but he never...
No, he would have told you.
Yeah. Just to add that story, because of the scratch on the front bumper on one of the Diablos, once a day our dad bought a 997 GT3 Cup car. And he had it on the trailer. He parked it in the front yard. And the front yard from the street up to the house is about 1.5 meters. You have a street up. The car was standing on the trailer. He fell asleep for, I don't know, like for an hour. And I opened the trailer. I prepared everything to unload the car. I pull up the straps and everything, like being ready when he awake. unload the car and drive it. Yeah, so I stand in front of the house with my parents next to my mom, and I watched to the car, and I told her, man, it's cool. It's a race car. It's a race car. And when Dad is awake, we will try to drive it around. And she didn't like it to do that. And at that moment, because the trailer was already unlocked, in that moment, I saw how the trailer was turning, and the car started to move.
Roll off.
And it's to roll off, and it's about, I would say, like to run to the car was about 50 meters. It was at the beginning of the front yard, and we were next to the house. And I started, and I was crying, Mom, wake up, Dad. And
You were pretty desperate.
yeah, for sure. And the next, what I saw was when the 997 crashed into the wall, and it was done. And my mom came down and said, what's wrong? What happened? And I told her, nothing. Really, the 997 front bumper, it's the GFK, and crashed into the wall. There was some hole, but everything is open, so you can punch from the inside. It was done. I pulled it into the garage. My dad was awake, and I told him, I already unlocked the car. Everything is done. We can use it. My mom never spoke about it.
Yeah,
Never.
She was feared, scared, whatever.
Yeah, she was scared maybe. But,
Can you remember
but nothing was broken. I was very surprised.
Can you remember when we transported? That was years after when we transported
Yeah,
Mercy
I remember
on
well.
a trailer, and he said, "Hey, did you
No, it
strap the car?" And I said, "No, you did." No, I didn't.
And it was
But we were driving
E-gear
already
zero,
an E-gear car with no, like the handbrake
Handbrakes.
wasn't working. And in the moment he said, "No, I didn't" as well. Directly the car was rolling onto the back, and it like lifted the middle at the back of the car and the front of the trailer. We were sitting like exactly like this. But the peak of all that was we were like I was 10, you were.
You have to tell that was the beginning of our career when we used to be. We tried.
Yeah, that
to be
was the beginning
car
of our
dealer.
serious car dealer.
Our dad told us so many
Career.
times, don't do that.
Yeah.
Be careful
course we
there.
did it.
And for sure, we knew better.
Yeah.
Tell the story with the Fiat.
Yeah. The peak of like playing around 90s icons was in the year 2000, 2001. There was this incredible lineup of crazy cars. We had the great idea, had friends there. Let's play a little bit of soccer in the garage. Why not? Like we have the space. It's raining outside. Let's do that. And I can remember that you have been pretty small, and
Yeah, it was all of your friends.
I was
You involved me.
10 years old probably. We were playing soccer there. Of course, we here and there almost touched a car, or the ball was going against a car, yeah. But, it was normal for us to walk by these cars every day. No dad around us to tell us, hey, don't do that. But at some point, and I guess it was you, yeah,
True.
always over the horizon. This ball, I still have it in front of me, this ball going around this corner. It was like Messi trying to make a goal, but the thing is, like, the goal he made was the mirror of an F40. Like, there was a crack in the paint on the door and serious issues. And we were desperate. Like, that was a situation in which we knew, okay, like, Daddy is cool and he's very charming and he
But
has
that was
sense
one
of
the
humor.
last times we were allowed to play that.
That was
Really.
the last time.
He locked it again.
Yeah, that was when trust time was over.
Yes, and it was really hard for us to get it back.
Can you remember that was a Friday and we went to our mom. We thought, like, we were discussing how to react.
Yeah.
Like, crying is always the best way. That makes us desperate. Impression, like, that is probably a good way of like presenting let's call it the issue. So we went to our mom, said, hey, you have to cry, like, you are the small one, cry. And it's, of course, your fault, yeah. So he tried to start to cry and standing in front of me, yeah, what happened? Yeah, something happened. It wasn't our intention to do that, but we broke something on this small Ferrari in the garage. Like, you have to imagine an F40 was not a proper car for us. That was like, it was not a Lamborghini, so it wasn't existing. You cannot even believe it nowadays, but that was the case.
I think that's the point when somebody is thinking, don't like us at that time.
Yeah, probably.
It's a very pretty car, but the most reason why I don't like it is I cannot fit in. It's not possible for me to drive it. Really
and I guess there's minimum one F40 on the planet where you cannot use the mirror properly because it was glued on. So, but our mom went with us into the garage, and then she saw that and she was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, if your dad is like, it was a Friday, we have to do something. Like, you can't be here when he's arriving. So she said, I have the idea. You are just sleeping at your grandmother's house for the next 2 days, for the weekend.
Over the weekend. Yeah.
Nowadays, having children, I think that was a strategy to be alone, having a weekend as a couple.
But we have to tell you, our mom was always our partner in crime. For that stories. Really, she trusted in us all the time, and I think inside her she said, "Yeah, they are young guys." And she really didn't care that much about the cars. She's not a big fan about those cars, and for sure, our dad was kind of aggressive when he found it out.
Yeah,
really?
he was a scary person. Like he was a big man. Like
exactly.
And when he was angry, that was not that comfortable. And he didn't want to understand us. You know, he didn't even try. But can you remember, like, our mother was the person who just the opposite. While he was not allowing us to eat in his cars, she was like eating in his Diablo with Alcantara. Chocolate fell down. I can remember this story. Like, and our dad stopped on the highway.
It was in the side door, on the right side. The Diablo I own today.
Blue
Alcantara. She ate some chocolate while on the autobahn, and she put the chocolate in the side door.
30 degrees outside, and she said, "No, I take it out later on today." No, you don't. Like, we stop on the highway now. You take it out, like my car. You know, he takes care of his car pretty well. Exactly. His cars look like, after 10 years, they look almost like new. This is how he treats, not like we do.
Our dad was all the time like,
he trusted in us.
He trusted in us. But for sure, if you made a fault, he was a hard guy. He explained you the right way to understand it was a fault. Not like he punched us, but it was like he was a tall, big guy, and you as a child was like, okay, you don't want to have the discussion with your dad.
But I think because our, as you can imagine, because of our mom made these cars available and that we could touch them, that we grew up in with these cars, and that made kind of our passion. These are great memories from today, and of course mine changed and we take care of the cars nowadays, but that is part of the ingredients of what we are today and why we love these cars so much. And this is something I try to give all the people who probably buy their first vintage supercar or who just are scared of the cars today. And we always try to say, just use it as a car, what it still is. And even a McLaren F1, which can only guess has 4 wheels and is still a car, you can just use it. It's not a shame to repaint a bumper because you have stone chips on the front or a scratch from using the car. It's part of this history and it's part of that car's history. And this is something we try to communicate all the time, that people don't forget it. It's kind of art, but the art is in the idea of the designer, not in the fact that this car is something you cannot use.
And also you take care a lot of that. And even me, I haven't kids, but the kids of my sister and his kids, they like cars. So we take care about it to explain them the right way, what it is, what it's worth, not the value, but that it's something very special to own those cars. And also the middle kid of my sister, he's such a big Lamborghini fan. We don't know why, because you don't pull the kids.
He just is. No. We know exactly why. Like, we can understand, but
yeah, he's a copy of our dad. Really, he's a real copy of our dad. Even how he looks, he's a copy. Version. He's a comic version of our dad. So, but he's such a big fan of Lamborghinis, and I think it was the first word he could pronounce.
You have to
before Papa and Mama, which is the German word for mom and dad, he said Guinea. So
that's a testimonial, isn't it? Like, to the greatest automobile brand
exactly
on the planet.
Yeah, and this is something we will really take care about it, because we had that experience in our childhood, and we learned it the right way. Our dad brought us everywhere to be there. You have to be silent. Not today, but you had to be when you were a child. But at that time, we were everywhere. So he brought us to the Lamborghini members meeting. He brought us to some events, to the dealership, friends of him who owned that cars. So it was amazing for us as a kid. But as I said, there were some rules, and you had to hold them. And this is something what we want to show his kids and my sister's kids, maybe in the future my kids as well, that it's something very special, but you can enjoy it in the right way.
Successful car purchasing is all about knowing your buying power and being able to move quickly, and the best way to do that is getting pre-qualified with Premier Financial Services. Call one of these numbers, speak to one of their representatives, fill out their application, and then you'll know exactly how much car you can buy. You'll approach a seller, tell them you're already qualified, you've got your simple lease set up from Premier Financial, and you'll be able to close very, very quickly. That's why Premier is one of the most powerful partners in the world of exotic car financing, and that's why I turn to them every time I go out and try to buy something crazy.